утро, уважаемые коллеги, дамы и господа. Я прошу, наверное, уже...
Good morning, dear ladies and gentlemen. Please take your seats, and we can now open our session.
еще раз, дамы и господа.
Well, good morning, dear ladies and gentlemen, again, and I welcome all of you here who are here in the audience and online. I welcome you to the fourth International Conference on Digital Transformation. We are opening our plenary session today, which is devoted to the transformation of the ecosystem of IP. We're going to talk about the new opportunities and vistas for innovation and technology. And I welcome here the members of this session. I would appreciate to remove this echo from the microphone. Otherwise, it seems that I am like broadcasting into a new universe. So to welcome our panel here, Maxim Reshetnikov, the Minister of Economic Development of the Russian Federation. Please welcome Mr. Reshetnikov. Yuri Zubov, head of Rospatent. Yuri. Vyacheslav Shulenin, General Director of the Moscow Center for Innovation Technologies in Health. Vasily Shpak, Deputy Minister of Industry and Trade. Andrei Omельchuk, Deputy Minister for Science and Higher Education. Grigory Ivleev, President of the Eurasian Patent Agency, and two people in the audience, Alexei Furtsev, from the head of the Department for Entrepreneurship and Innovation Development of the city of Moscow, and Vadim Chubarov from the TPP. So to open our conference, I invite here the Minister of Economic Development, Maxim Reshetnikov, to make the introductory speech. Well, colleagues, with this open space echo still there, I still want to welcome you for the opportunity to take part in the conference. Today, as the economy is rebuilding itself, we need to have some solutions that can adapt our economy to this external pressure and the externalities that we have, and also consolidate our opportunities. That is why the development of innovations and technologies is a priority for the whole of the government of the Russian Federation, and our key priority also in our relations with business. We have very good vistas for growth. We have now 6 trillion more in our intellectual property rights compared to 2017. We grew almost 2 times, and our company are investing in IP more than 800 billion rubles a year. We now have better activity in patent and marketing. The business has more incentives to issue patents and to claim patents, and also provide protection to their products and trademarks. And in essence, they want to protect their markets. It is very important for us to preserve and multiply such performance. What is our logic in future? We need to continue protecting IP rights that belongs to both Russian nationals and companies and foreign nationals and companies. This is the key assets to be protected by the government, keeping in mind all those discussions about the forced licensing and parallel imports and other points on the agenda. We need to understand and appreciate that the fundamentals that we have, the civil code fundamentals and the protection of the rights, should be intact, and any deviations and any special circumstances that we are facing today should be viewed and perceived as an exception that should have a very special nature and really should be very much temporary in nature, so that the fundamentals are there. And to us, as the Ministry of Economic Development and the curator of the protection of IP rights, is a very important message. The second thing, we are taking some very extraordinary measures as the priority actions of the government, and we have additional decisions and solutions to support high-tech companies, IT companies, so that our entities and companies have some time for adapting and using those measures. We're still being guided by IP. And of course, we are supporting high-tech and innovative companies, and those come to the forefront and are high on the agenda. It is very important to preserve the technological potential and capacity that we have accumulated so far. And there are some challenges there. We faced those during the COVID period. We found some of the solutions, not all of them, of course, but today we need to also find those lacking solutions. And the key solution there is the identification and identity of innovative companies and innovative products to us. This is a very important direction, because if we're going to pass through those crossroads, we can also change the thresholds and develop the criteria and the system that is being set forth by the Skolkovo challenges and rules. So we, in any case, come to the question of patents, because the patents should be also fresh, so to say. They should have been issued in the last 5 or 10 years, and these are the criteria that we are following, and the IP and its characteristics are the most important things in our drive to support the high-tech sector. Also, we need to reach new heights because our foreign partners, in some cases, are vacating the niches in the Russian market by themselves, and the Russian business is ready to take those niches. The business has grown and knows how to multiply and how to work and what is marketing, how to protect the trademark, and there is some trust to that, to the Russian business and to the Russian trademarks on the side of the Russian consumers. It is very important for us that the companies are going to drive on, and we would also help them with patenting so that we can have our own patents. We discussed that with the students, that the patent business should be viewed not as something that where you take documents and go somewhere to take a stamp and patent that. No, it is also about the full technological space where you can be guided to where to go, and where you can learn where your competitors are going, or where you can provide help to engineers, to marketologists and IT people, so that you can formulate and generate this IP right to be patented. And we need very advanced professionals there who know how to put this into something tangible, how to prove to the management of the companies and to banks that it is this brand that can offer value added, and it deserves some spending on marketing, etc. This is not money wasted. This is something that can provide you with value added on your balance sheet and create an asset. And our task is really to be quick enough so that we can go to the bank to put this IP right as a pledge, as a collateral, and get money for development. And this is the task for us to go on. Again, this is a super task, but we need to come there in 1,000 steps, and the work of the patent offices and patent services is very important. Rospatent, on its turn, is prepared to really provide support, and we have some key public programs of financing, and we are ready to develop that together with businesses. To improve the conditions for those professionals and to develop the business, the government adopted a roadmap for IP, the transformation of the business climate in IP, and this was also done on instructions from the President. We have worked with Parliament and the State Duma and the Council of the Federation there. This is where we work together, and we are meeting the requests of the local companies. We also want to resume our tax privileges for IP. This is a task for the future, something that we used to have, and the companies really appreciated that very much, but the length of those privileges was not enough. So we are now preparing the second reading of that initiative, and that initiative would offer an additional 3 years of such tax privileges for IP. And for SMEs, this is going to be a 5-year term for such tax exemptions and privileges. Maybe after 3 years, we would again understand that some people were not able to use and enjoy those privileges in full, and probably we can resume that. And that, together with the Russian Union of Entrepreneurs and Industrialists and the Chamber of Commerce, we need to really give it a thought. And the registration of trademarks to self-employed, another draft law which was included into the roadmap, and this is past the first reading, and the very institution of the self-employed is developing, and this is another opportunity to be offered to the self-employed, which may be a very important incentive. It is important in such new realities to appreciate new risks, and the tasks of the public policy are the same on the one hand, but we are also refocusing. The public policies may be something that was not being accentuated. We need to accentuate, and we need to move forward faster. And there we urge businesses to be proactive and to develop some solutions together so that we can incentivize the companies and move on with the developments, especially since the own products of the businesses would be in higher demand. Dear colleagues, I wish you all successes in this conference, and the proof of that would be 2 points. First, despite the fact that we have wide gamut of tasks for the Ministry of Science and Trade and others, they are being represented here, and we have the leaders of the regional processes in Moscow, and we have many joint programs, and together with the colleagues from Rospatent. But the main proof of this importance is not visible here in the audience. An hour ago, I just met the students of the academy, and really I like the youth that are being brought up in this institute, and we are trying to really think about broader offerings for IP professionals to be trained. We do have strong demand from the businesses for those professionals. We have a very strong agenda, but we need to have talented young people to see some good vistas in this profession so that they can come to tuition. The Academy is up to the mark there. Dear friends, I wish you all good deliberations and discussions and decisions. And you know that the government is really working very fast today at very high speeds. And perhaps we would have spent a year or two in a different paradigm for such matters. But now we need to really use only weeks or months for the same tasks and agendas, and let's use this opportunity to really develop the solutions. I wish you all the best here, colleagues. Unfortunately, I cannot stay with you for the full of the conference. I have some other missions and tasks to be taken care of. Thank you, Maxim, and indeed, in continuation of your words, I would like to mention here the organizers of this conference. This is the 4th iteration of this conference from Rospatent and the Federal Institute of Industrial Property. And this is a very good venue for a dialogue between the businesses, inventors, and the public authorities. And I hope that such a productive dialogue will be taking place here. Of course, we're talking about today, about some topical tasks of today, and Of course, the import substitution is a key driver of growth for the local businesses and local technologies. And of course, the technological level of the economy directly depends on the patent activity and the services of the patent office. And in this connection, of course, I would like to address the first question to the head of Rospatente, Yuri Zubov. Yuri Sergeyevich, in your view, this patent activity is one of the indicators of innovative development. And we all understand the challenges that we are facing today and how the digitalization of Rospatent and the services that your agency is offering, how all of that is transforming the business climate, and what are the digital tools at the disposal of Rospatent so that local producers can develop some equivalents or analogs of foreign products that we don't have here in Russia as patented products. Thank you. Perhaps I would like to demonstrate my very short presentation. Of course, coming all the way to the point, IP today, as Maxim mentioned, is a very powerful instrumental tool of economic development, and it is very important to have a solid legal protection of IP, especially in current circumstances, end-to-end, going from development to production. And this is not the scheme that immediately came to our minds, and of course during all our previous conferences and also this year during various meetings and during our efforts to develop services. And all our services are customer focused, and they were built to offer seamless provision of public services to the clients. I should say here that all those interested parties now have free access and open access to the patent pool, and we now have a very important step taken. We have these now the Center of Competence, and any innovator today, even at the stage of an idea being generated, in a very initial step, at the step of some thoughts, the innovator, the inventor, can really have access to the world pool of knowledge and patents so that he or she can understand how to come up with the strategic decisions about the idea. The next step is, of course, where you need to somehow consolidate your development with protection and protect this invention from any illegal use or seizure or the export abroad. And so you need to take some action. And here in this country, with the help of the public services offered by Rospatent, we can provide that. I should say here that we also try to extend a helping hand here, and we came up with the proposals that actually were already approved. We already have the good institution of patent notaries, and this indeed reduces the time for certification and accreditation and getting the status of patent protection. So for 4 years is your length of career. Now we have another criteria of 4 years of career plus 6 months of internship at the companies that offer such services. Of course, this broadens the opportunities to get the status, to get the higher number of such professionals, and we are also helping the businesses to create and set up such competencies and services in-house. We are also facilitating various services to provide further commercialization of the developments and provide the accounting services to such developments. And I should say that at all those stages, our services would help accelerate the introduction and implementation in practice of such developments. And on the other hand, we would be able to take those high-tech products taking a step forward. Let me have the next slide, please. Yes. This is better, and I would like to share with you the responses that we can take against these actions and the heavy pressure that we are experiencing. What we can offer to science and businesses. We now have a specialized center, and Maxim mentioned that in his introductory speech, and this is about a center that was supported by the Ministry of Economic Development. This is the Center of Accelerating Advanced Technologies. Of course, this was the request from the businesses, and we worked with the Moscow government there, and we also touched grounds with the Moscow-based businesses. And this is a center that can help and identify import substitution products to replace any outgoing technologies, and also to offer another important element. This is an open secret that some of the foreign companies did not much care about the intellectual protection of their products, or sometimes they did, but the ideas about how to make Russian technologies advanced, and for that we can use the pool of knowledge from our experts, and we know the teams working in high tech and in science, and what we can offer in terms of information to find those teams and to share information about how to use the reverse engineering to come up with the new developments. And this is the purpose of this center. The term is 28 days. I would say this is the average time, or maybe maximum time, for the center to really work on the request from businesses and offer very high quality results.
What else I wanted to point out in my speech? It's a rather comprehensive option, comprehensive variant of this support. I already mentioned the support and maintenance of science-intensive projects. This is speeding up, bringing to the market high-tech products. But there's one more tool which we are offering, which is now in a stage of development, which is under development from the organizational and technology point of view, and it, of course, is able to give an opportunity to bring to markets the product, starting from the very idea to its implementation, big products, big ideas, and big intentions. And then we try to implement it together with the Ministry of Economic Development, the Ministry of Science, and of course with business, to whom those technologies will be really useful. The main customer of ours is the state now in those projects. I'm not going to go too much ahead and tell you all about the next steps, but I'd like to stop on some very important points. We do see that the operator of this mechanism, of this service, will be Rospatent agency, because, yes, there are competences, there is experience and vision, and very broad relations to the world of science in order to implement this mechanism, not only with scientists, but also with companies, with other organizations, to provide a comprehensive grounds for its implementation. But of course, we're not stop on this point. This mechanism is absolutely open to all professionals of the market, proven professionals, commercial companies and organizations which are involved in IP management today. These are organizations which consolidated and accumulated knowledge about investing in these science-intense technologies and their further journey to the market. This whole chain boils down to the production, of course. Here we won't be able to go without the Ministry of Commerce, and we really count on this support. I took a lot of time of your time, and I tried to arrive at my last slide of my presentation. Finally, I got it. I'd like to note also that everything what we are discussing here, we are referring to certain steps, and our today's conference is devoted to the digital transformation of creation an ecosystem using digital technologies in IP. And I have to say that the basis of those services, those projects which I told you about, is based by the digital technologies, modern digital technologies created by Rospatent in the cooperation with the scientists, with scholarship, and with the professionals of the market in the area of intellectual property. These are tools which aggregate big data about patent information. These are tools which contain opportunities of a seamless operation, of seamless work with the patent application providing results and creation of the strategy and go-to-market strategy for different products in Russian markets and in foreign markets also. Also, it is very important when we have this intelligence, the patent intelligence operations, we should understand clearly where shall we direct our technological solutions. The basis of it is created by already available technologies. They are available 24/7 free of charge, and we are sure they will be of demand going forward. I'm not going to spend more of your time and grab time of the further speakers. Thanks a lot for this important topic. I have to also thank Mr. Reshetnikov for directing us in our plenary session of today and for our further session in the conference. And I'd like to wish all of us success in implementing very pressing and relevant solutions and which are aimed at the business support in these difficult conditions. Thank you very much, Mr. Yuriev. Thank you. Since we are in the Moscow of Innovative Technologies now in the medical care, I'd like to pass the floor to Vyacheslav Shulinin. We know that the center is the one-stop shop for startups and innovations in the area of medical care and healthcare. Could you tell us what projects are you working on now? Please tell us a little bit about your collaboration with Rospatent, and probably Maxim Gennadievich already shared with us his experience of communicating with students, and what Minister mentioned there. Could you share with us too? Thank you very much. I'm really glad to welcome you all here and hosting you here in the walls of our innovation center. We are quite a young organization established by the institution of by the instruction of the government. And when we have this need to understand all the new technologies which we have in the healthcare industry, our key task is to become a center combining medical specialists, scientists, businesses in the form of startups. And this is the key task which we got from the government in order to detect as soon as possible all disruptive technologies in healthcare and to finalize them and to implement in on the Moscow grounds in Moscow healthcare organizations. This is our key role for the sake of which this center has been established, and I have to share with you those results of the work which we are leading together with Rospatent. First of all, we have had a great job started earlier, before these events, and for now, when we are now cut off from many technologies, it is really pressing. This work is really pressured. And within this think tank of Rospatent, colleagues try to help us, and all patents related to import replacement should be placed on the Russian ground for our. As it's very important to meet our Russian colleagues and to try to implement them as soon as possible here. Also, our colleagues help us a lot with foreign patents in this topic because medicine has become very sensitive in the current conditions. We arrived at the fact that we have a lot of needs for people to stay alive, to keep their health in hospitals, and it's very important. And sometimes some medicines are lacking in hospitals. A lot of foreign components are there, so the help of colleagues from Rospatent and from the Federal Center of Industrial Technologies from FIPS is very important for us. I hope we will move faster. We will develop these projects with the Department of Entrepreneurship. Second very important thing is where we do feel help from Rospatent is the help of doctors in their intentions and inventions. For them, it's sometimes easier to write a thesis other than organize all this bureaucratic work around it, to write all these reports and applications. We have some precedents where doctors invent something, but when it comes to the samples and designs, these designs are being stolen, and they don't get anything from their inventions. And we try to remove these problems, this inequality in this case, with help of our colleagues. We started to pilot a lot of cases, and they will be the basis for that. It will be rolled out not only for healthcare, Rospatent helps us with import substitution, and it will also happen in other areas. The situation became an opportunity for our breakthroughs. A very close example to us regarding scientific basis. And our scientists are now limited in getting access to those databases. We have had a meeting with Sirius recently with our colleagues from Sirius. These are colleagues who established an analog of Reaxys and well-known, very known foreign databases. In the current condition, this database in some parameters is superior to Reaxys. And we hope that with help of Rospatent we will be able to make a very good product of a global level. We see a great potential here for a technological breakthrough. In some areas we can be superior, we can be better than foreign analogs, and we try to absorb all foreign developments here and develop them together for our purpose. Thank you very much, Vyacheslav. Thank you very much, Mr. Shulenin. You mentioned healthcare, which was really now under pressure and really suffering from this situation. But I'm sure there are much more areas in Russia of this nature, but the challenge for us is not only a challenge but also a new opportunity. In this regard, I'd like now to pass the floor to Deputy Minister of Trade of Russia, Mr. Shpak. Mr. Shpak, well, I mentioned some of your expressions. You mentioned that the new reality covers and opens new opportunities, new markets for Russia. And today we are able to develop our own technological potential. Well, as I see, Ministry of Trade and Commerce can be a customer of Rospatent due to the fact that it's going to be foster technological development. Could you comment on that? And my second question to you is, what measures of support your ministry offers for high-tech areas, for high-tech products and industries, and to develop the IP market in Russia under the current conditions? Good morning. Thank you very much for this opportunity to speak at this representative forum. We have very close collaboration with Rospatent. From our point of view, intellectual property and, generally speaking, the brains is the key advantage in the global hyper competition. Our people are creative people inventions are very close to our nature. But sometimes it happens that something is invented in Russia, but it is commercialized somewhere else. If we take a look at previous centuries, there were a lot of inventions made in Russia. But as a result, it turned out that they being developed not in Russia, in other countries. It's like in the TV area, in internet also. It tells us once again that what Rospatent does is a very, very important activity. And if you may, it's probably our competitive advantage in this global hyper competition. All those things should be considered en gros, not only from the invention point of view. Some things to be invented is amazing, of course, but very important also to develop it, to produce it in big quantities, to roll it out. And altogether, it's very important to register the rights properly, to describe the intent, to describe the design, to turn it to the working documents, to implement in production, start this production and produce in good quality and in competitive batches. So once again, thank you very much, and to Rospatent. Rospatent's business is very important, and this job of Rospatent is coming into this critical time, and the world is changing, and we can experience it right now. And in the Federal Reserve System and International Monetary Fund reports, they say that they do feel and see the split of the world into separate currency zones. Those currency zones cannot exist on their own. It's going to be technological zones with closed technological circles, loops, economic systems, and we should not miss this chance. So Russia is really able to create this loop, this circuit, in terms of the currency control, and our ruble, our currency, is moving gradually to the status of a global reserve currency. And in terms of technologies, and we have had this experience in the recent past, in Soviet times and before, we have had our own currency and technological zone, and I'm sure that we will be able also in the current conditions to establish, to build our zone for us and for our potential partners. First of all, on the territory of the Eurasian countries. I'm not going to grab the topic of Grigory Petrovich, who will tell you more about it. What else I wanted to mention about digitalization? Today, it was already mentioned in the presentation of Rospatent manager. It was said a lot about innovations to be implemented by Rospatent, and there are methods of this implementation there. Why I started from that far away talking to you about the currencies? Because the property legitimization system will be changed all over the world, including legitimization of intellectual property. It's going to happen too, and we cannot just miss this chance. We should join this race with new technologies. We should simplify. We should simplify, unify, and make sure that the process of getting the rights support and rights confirmation take not months or weeks, but days, and new technologies should help us in that. For example, NFT technologies, non-fungible token technology, is being developed very actively now. That means that non-material or material things, the arts or literature, pieces are registered by these tokens, and their individuality is fixed by that. Probably something should be implemented also in IP, in patents. Semantic models, analysis models should be introduced in order to avoid what Vyacheslav told us when our doctors invent something, but then someone steals it from the authors. There's a lot of work to be done. It's very important. I do believe that Rospatent and the ecosystem which is existent around it is really able to fix this problem. And this new emerging world is an opportunity for us. We should miss this opportunity. The intelligence and the spirit of creation is our key competitive advantage. And what is now done in Rospatent is very important. This job is very important, and we will do our best from our side to achieve the necessary result. Now, what are going to be our next steps? The state pays a lot of attention to the development of high-tech areas. This is IT, this is electronics, microelectronics. Last year, a lot of supporting tools were introduced. We are now able to support product development starting from electronic engineering, new materials, designs, down to radio electronic platforms, board and services. If we look at the results of these 2 years, we can see huge results. Of course, the world is changing very fast. Probably these results are not seen so well, but as already mentioned by the moderator today of our today's conference, any crisis is first and foremost a new opportunity, and we should use this opportunity in full. The most important is to believe in our forces, not to be afraid of our desires. We will do our best and we will make it, really. And we from the side of Rospatent, we will discuss it in detail. Most probably we will place more substantial requirements to the registration of the IPR results. And I wish you all a good day, good health, stay safe, and thank you very much.
Thank you, Vasily Viktorovich. Indeed, as you mentioned, it is important to think about the author, the originator of an IP, and indeed Russia has a gamut of diverse inventors and young ones, and of course innovations are not possible without education. And here I'm calling on the Andrea Omelchuk, Deputy Minister for Science and Higher Education of the Russian Federation. Indeed, the Minister of Science and Higher Education recently said, and this is something that we saw from the speech of Mr. Zubov, that indeed there is some collaboration to identify some patentability of various ideas. Now, how to reduce this way from idea to development, how to incentivize innovators and the authors to come out to the market. And in these new circumstances, what else is needed to add to the educational component? Perhaps I'll take a broader view of that, because not only education but also science is important. When we are talking about what scientists are inventing, they are doing that for quite some time and for a long time, and then we can go to implement that. But the starting point there is that we are working on an initiative which would be a patent fast track. We understand that the 28 days is only part of the longer process, and our task is for the experts to be able to come to an entity, to a business, to do a checkup there, to identify the capacity for innovations and commercialization, and to generate this whole chain so that we can help the researcher to protect the development, not to be stolen, so that it would be protected by the various measures. I recently went to a university, and there I was told that they are developing a vaccine against several illnesses, and this is a very rare vaccine, but they don't know how to patent that. They have a development, but they don't have any protection mechanisms. And when they come to a company to really implement that and to produce that, they would lose their patent rights. So it is one thing to invent a vaccine in a lab class, but another thing is to really deploy that industrially. These are different skills, something that you can generate in a lab class, you cannot generate on an industrial scale. This is also a task there. And this is just one of the examples. And the second example is from our discussion at the IP Council, which we held in Mordovia. This is the venue of the Council of the Federation. They are providing a lot of help to Rospatent in such initiatives, so in terms of what needs to be done legislatively. And one of the points raised by the industrialists is that when they patent a medicine, but this is a very narrow patent, if you lose one component, you would have to issue another patent. International pharmaceuticals really provide very broad patent coverage for which you can produce maybe 150 medicines of various types. But there you only get a very narrow patent. And one of the tasks that we're working on today is making sure that what we patent today would be properly formalized, offering new opportunities. This may be one patent or three patents. And this is something that we're working on with Rospatent and the Moscow authorities. And we are going to really put this around some systemic skeletons that we already have. The various priority area centers, the competence centers. And last year, for example, we started to revive a network of technology transfer centers, and we created 18 of those last year, and we're going to create 25 more, and we are going to integrate those into our work. This is not only about innovations or patents, but this is also a thick layer of competence to stay with the universities and higher educational institutions for them to know how to work with patents. So this is something that Valery actually discussed already, and this is something that we are going to work with Rospatent on. We discussed a lot about educational tracks and the patent professionals, and of course we are offering more and more budget-financed vacancies in universities for those professionals that are going to be trained in patent science. Since last year, together with Rospatent and the Russian Academy of IP, we launched a big project to create network programs between sectoral universities and the Russian Institute of IP, so that we can have various tracks in healthcare and other sectors, so that while the student is getting his or her training in a university, he or she will be able to enjoy that practical knowledge. We also launched a big project of creating patent cultures. It is not enough to write an article or to invent something. Before you do that, you need to appreciate the fact that you have an innovation, you have a development, something that requires patent protection, but you first need to really issue a patent on your idea and then write an article for the world public and community to use, and for those who may be ahead of you in terms of patenting your idea. So those students that really study the patent businesses, they need to have the competencies, and we have this joint project to really cultivate the patent culture. When we issue money to universities and help professors to really include such patent protection matters into the basic curricula. And this is about the educational fast track. Regarding how to make sure that we have more technologies and more commercial technologies, I think that the market is ready to take anything that can be implemented and deployed, and there the request from the businesses and various public authorities is very high. And given the fact that some of the companies left the market, you already have a good chance to be effective in your implementations, so that such investments may be recoverable. And on our side, we are implementing a big project, and we're going to expand the Center of Technological Initiatives. And today, this platform has become the main driver of perhaps you heard about the social and economic development initiatives and about the various beacons like manless navigation, etc. So a number of the very high-tech projects, and many of those are based on those National Technological Initiative centers that we created. And of course, with those centers, we would be able to somehow make the agendas relevant. Those technologies of yesterday perhaps need to be adjusted in terms of our current challenges. And we are also working on other key areas driven by the situation. Also this year, we are launching a big project of entrepreneurship. It is one thing when you have a scientist, a researcher, to come up with a patent and claim a patent, and it is another thing when you have the young mind students, young professors and engineers claiming such patents. And we want really to engage them in such activities. We launched the first one, and this is the initiative to offer grants to students. This is a startup for their startups, and really we received a lot of requests, and a third of those requests were from IT initiators and students, and the second big chunk of those requests is about engineering. And there we of course also support and work with Rospatent about digitalization, and of course the 3 new products that we already have today, we are perceiving them as part of a bigger ecosystem of introducing digital services and science. Developed today. I'm not talking even about a database because it is a more complicated effort, but these services are based on the free access to information, to data, through the platforms created by Rospatent. And what is being developed in Rospatent in terms of the Eurasian dimension really helps to unite all countries there. The information really is available to the 10 countries of Eurasia. Our agency covers the databases of 8 countries, and Russian language database of EPATIS, as we call it, in the Eurasian in the Eurasian Patent Agency, is quite specific. I can take different looks at our databases, and I can see that many of those are complementary, and this exchange of patent claims between the countries of the Eurasian space helps us to really work with those claims across the space. And this year we're expecting to have about 800 such claims to be issued, and we need to really create this digital information space for the whole of Eurasia. It is very relevant today, especially because of the sanctions, and the sanctions are about some accelerated office work. Global PPH and PPH Plus are not possible today in our cooperation with many other patent offices of the US or Europe. And they really offered many links. Now those sanctions are restricting us in our access, and we need to find a way to expand such use of information. And the Eurasian space in general can offer such an opportunity. Hence, we're offering to really pull together the knowledge and capacity of all our experts, and perhaps our Asian partners like China will be able to cooperate with us within the framework of those programs. And this is something which is achievable. We are really fine-tuning our electronic cooperation on those claims with all the national offices. It is not really fully implementable now, but with Rospatents, perhaps on a bilateral basis, we can do the same. Because this is something which is really relevant today. The claims are really assessed electronically. As of May 1st, we are going to also issue electronic protection certificates, but we are still using a lot of paper, as well as in Rospatents, and we need to take a look why the paper documents are still being used and why the share of paper documents is really being reduced so slowly, and the document flow is not fully electronic today. Although you have all the possibilities for that, we say open your personal accounts there. Please write to us in such and such formats, but they're not using that. And this digital transformation really is about, pampering people and preparing them for such transformation. We created the services. We have the opportunities offered. They are covering a number of entities, but not all of them. My colleague here recalled the discussion in Mordovia, and of course, a very important principle was declared there. Valentina Matvienko said that we need to ensure the freedom of invention. Well, I mean, planes are no longer flying from Azerbaijan to Russia or whatever, and the electronic document flow cannot be disturbed and violated. And it is quite indicative that we need to train professionals there. And one of the entrepreneurs at the council said that this is what Americans can enjoy and this is what we have. I can tell you that it is quite understandable that the question was prepared for them to be asked, but people don't really understand what is this unity of a claim of the IP right.
When we mention the unity of invention, we, and many people would support me in that, we know that China, US, and Europe have different approaches to this issue. And our colleague at the very high-ranked forum brought it all in one pile, as if we don't have works on the unity of inventions, after which we produce our recommendations. But we have to teach those patent attorneys of doing this business. And when we say that digital opportunities are limitless, when we master our platforms and specialists understand how it works, but they don't, some of them don't know how it all works. It's a pity that Mr. Deputy Minister left us, but I wanted to say once again that the ministry does a lot in terms of supporting education. They set up centers, but we need to create the basis. These specialists in the intellectual property are in deficit. We don't have enough of them, and we invite them for 400,000 rubles, and those who come, no, they don't come. There are not a few people. We have to train specialists on our own account, and Eurasia will pay to the Academy of the IP for training every specialist. We pay for the training of one specialist to Rospatent in Raiges. FIPS Institute pays everything for the training of their specialists. And I'm sorry, this is the centralized institution in this area. In order to provide proper staff to the country, the approach should be absolutely different, and I will have a call with Mr. Omerchuk and tell him separately about it. When we create those competences, we will get the application portfolio. You asked about the application portfolio. Of course, biotechnologies. Biotechnologies is the main bulk of those applications. Healthcare also. What was our reaction to this support? Only now we start to work with FIPS on gathering interns to train young specialists. We compete with different agencies for the specialists, for scientists, for them to work in successfully. We have a lot of scientific areas, breakthrough areas, disruptive. As soon as they get disruptive, we will have to react as we do now with Rospatent. We will have the targeted education program also in digital formats. We would like to show this very obviously by creating a general information space in Eurasia. Already now we can get additional services of hundreds of specialists for every agency. Thanks a lot. Thanks to Rospatent and to the government of Russia for this policy of presenting created digital platforms for the whole Eurasian space. And if you may, it's an invasion into the information market of Eurasia, and digital systems, IP ecosystems of the Russian Federation is a good example to develop it in all national system of Eurasian countries. Thank you very much, Grigory Petrovich. Probably after our broadcasting specialists will come to you more for such a good conditions and good salary. Probably you will find ways how to retrain specialists, how to prepare talents, and on a very serious basis. I'm sure that in Moscow, as a great innovative hub, and for sure on the territory of the Moscow Innovation Cluster, the work with specialists is built up very well, with young specialists, young talents in patent attorneys. And I'd like to invite here Alexei Fursin, head of the Department of Entrepreneurship and Innovative Development of the city of Moscow. Mr. Fursin, we do know that Moscow created all comfortable conditions to develop innovations in order to make these innovations from ideas to startups and get commercialized. We have to ask you, what about current conditions? What kind of additional conditions and support measures you provide, taking into account these new economic conditions and demands of our time in order to make sure that startups and innovations grow and be successful in the market? Thanks, Victoria. Dear colleagues, I'd like to thank Grigory Petrovich. I thought that everything is so going well, that the only question is why we came together here. I'd like to split my presentation into three parts. First, what problems we see, what challenges we see, and what we can offer. And third, are we going to have some resolution as a result of our conference? I'm not going to display to you a lot of my slides. Probably half of them will be seen on the screen, but that's okay. I will be brief. What first I'd like to stress in terms of issues which are of concern for us. Victoria, you mentioned that the development of an innovative ecosystem in the country, in regions, is supported by one of the fact, which is the patent activity. Probably we are not speaking enough about it. Well, but this activity is really not enough. It's not so strong in many respects. In the respect of business, from the part of state organizations, individuals. Well, and this is an issue which should be settled. There's no silver bullet in it. The second point is commercialization. And a very pressing problem here is that we are really creative, our people are really creative and inventive, but sometimes we're not able to turn it to money. And this is another challenge. And the third challenge is the weak rights turnover, because for today we do understand that even those rights which have been registered don't cost anything, don't cost much. Based on that, I have to say that today a very important thing is not only for the specialists who invent and commercialize, but those who support needs to be developed. Rospatent is moving on. It creates services, carries out audits, but there are not enough specialists in business and in governmental organizations. So a year ago, an initiative was produced in our system. We presented a set of communication and technical blocks, and we even established a separate patent packaging center. I wouldn't say that the flow is very high. Well, the same problem as what mentioned with the talented personnel by the previous speaker, and in our case we also have some difficulties of lacking staff, lacking personnel. And with the Ministry of Education, together with Rospatent, also we need to invest a lot in it. We need to produce patent specialists, patent advertisers, if you may, in different organizations to explain and to educate. Yes, thank you very much that thanks to Rospatent that they opened the patent database. This is the most visited page, 350,000 visits. People come and read about patents. People start looking for the inventors, whom to contact. There are, of course, issues with not indicating the contact data of the inventors, but we're going to work on it. A lot of things is turning around the money, and on the meeting of our collegium last year, I said that we will initiate 2 products to support patent activity. We launched first the grants for patenting in Russia. The average cost was 150,000 per patent, and half of it will be compensated from the city budget. Now we accept applications. Yesterday we received the first 100, and 40 of them already approved. That's what we have within 1 year from the point of filing until the confirmation. The second thing was more relevant in November, December when we initiated it. These were grants to patent abroad, because here the dynamics is even lower, but we still kept this trend. It is now, it's getting more relevance. Under 2 million rubles, we get a grant starting from document preparation till the stage of patent issue. With Grigory and with Yuri, we're going to work on it. We're going to prioritize countries and areas. But anyway, all selection processes have been launched, and everybody who is part of this system as an innovator and inventors, you're more than welcome. Also about the commercialization and about import substitution topic, we understand that every import substitution is related to intellectual rights and to inventions and our inventions. So we combined it. We have a separate grant for that, for our level. For small and medium enterprises, it is quite high, up to 100 million rubles. We grant for free for special project, including compensating costs for buying IPRs. We have already received first applications in this program in the healthcare industry separately. And another separate issue which we've been working on since last year, we work with banks in terms of collateralizing credits and supporting them by copyrights, by intellectual rights. These are topics about subsidized crediting, money for further development, for investments. Everybody is looking for money. Business goes to banks. Banks say that the collaterals needed. But what an innovator from small and medium enterprises can offer, even if, moreover, if it is digital. Well, should it be a PC which is not might not be in property? Nothing else than intellectual property. But he cannot pledge it for now. He cannot use it as a guarantee. I hope that with the help of the Ministry of Economic Development, we and central bank and the government, we will be able to spin off projects on the IP rights as a pledge. And a few more proposals. First, I think we need to establish and set up audits. Mr. Reshetnikov already mentioned about it, about these good measures. The companies will be able to audit what they have and put it on their balances. And we already discussed with Mr. Issues of audits, what has been patented. We need to analyze whether the patented things are left or is it just in form of a document or already in the real economy? Probably these are products which are now very relevant in terms of the import substitution topic. Second thing is incentivizing registration, IP registration activities by individuals, by small and medium enterprises, organizations from the state of educational institutions, and we do see a lot of potentials there, but unfortunately not enough initiative is there. And if we look at statistics, the 1/3 of the invention are being claimed by individuals, and for now we don't have no financial incentive for it, which would allow the doctors, even if doctors are talented, they are able to do their current job to invent something. But what would be an incentive for those doctors to present those inventions as their own and not as an invention of the organization they are working in? And the final thing is the right pledge, what we are working on with banks. We cannot cut it in pieces at once. So it could be a patent back-buying agency or something like a pledge office for patents. Probably we can spin off this flywheel, and we can really roll it out. And some of the IP parts will be a burden on the state, and we can avoid it. Thank you very much. And once again, I'd like to congratulate you all to the International Professional Day of Intellectual Property. We all have relations to this day, and I hope you very good mood and good luck. Thank you very much. Our today's discussion wouldn't be full without the voice of the business. So I'd like to invite to this floor the Vice President of the Chamber of Commerce of Russian Federation, Mr. Chubarov, Vadim Vitalyevich. Mr. Chubarov, we know that we have applications for trademarks, and we see them growing. What does it mean? Is it the application for the brands which are close to the popular brands after the Moscow government announced the grant program about 1 billion rubles to establish a new chain of fast street food? New ideas appeared like Dядя Vanya or something to register those patents. Taking into account the kind of conditions, what do you think? Will those applications be able to get a patent, taking into account they are mimicking under the very well-known global brands? And we understand that the Trade and Commerce Chamber is a place for business to communicate, and for sure you know what are those requests and requirements and needs of Russian companies in this area. What is the request now? What measures of support are now of demand? Thank you very much. I would agree with the previous speaker. It's not an accident that we have this meeting in April. Yesterday we finished the 14th Forum of International IP Rights Forum in the Trade and Chamber of Commerce. And we work closely with the Soviet Federation. We invited our colleagues from the Brazilian agency. And today our participation in our conference is very important. Thank you very much for this invitation. The Day of Intellectual Property is a very good day, and in Russia it is not just one day but the whole week. We worked for the whole week here on this topic. To your question about the trademarks, I'd like to try to open. First, I'm a lawyer, and yesterday we have had the chairman of the IP court, Mrs. Novoselova. She marks the growth of suits in IPs, and those cases will also relate the border trademarks. And if someone is trying to register not to develop the business but to be disguised by someone else or be like to some bands, it's not the proper practice. And what about the patent wars? Someone asked. When are we going to have patent wars? When Siemens is competing with someone, it means the development of an IP market, and probably we will live to that too. But we shouldn't work it in course of wars, but in course of peaceful settlements. Despite all external challenges and measures, spotted measures by our government, I mean the parallel import, we all know about this instruction of the ministry, and it has become a normative document.
But of course we need to really think about positive regulation and need to drive on with what we have planned so far. As a practitioner here, I also would support my previous, as the previous speaker, that there's a lot of optimism, but a lot still needs to be done. I also support my colleague in that we don't have too many and not enough patent claims. And yesterday we suggested to develop a preliminary patent claim which is shorter in term and which makes it possible for the applicant to spend less money for the application and really to assess the validity of the claim, whether he or she should drive on with the full patent or not. Regarding the commercialization, and I think it is very far from being ideal, and we did some preliminary analysis, and maybe it is not representative enough. However, we pooled our entrepreneurs who said that only 10% of entrepreneurs are in the business of innovations. And 32% simply cannot mobilize enough financing for innovations. There is no investor or interested or long-term lending. 54% simply do not see any attractiveness in such innovations. Here we discussed that we need to train patent professionals. This is true. And every year that we and the yearly data that we have today show that really our graduates are like hotcakes and they're being in high demand. But we also need to be thinking about any specialization of those professionals like pharmaceuticals or healthcare. We're talking about a broader market. Let us train such professionals because IP should also help to pull our economy out of the crisis. Those who actually are in the business of IP protection should be helped and supported. Yesterday we voiced the initiative, and it was supported by the Council of the Federation, and the idea is about the patent holiday. Those who already paid the duty, the patent duty for the stamp duty for the patent, but sometimes people won't be able to really continue paying the duty, and the patent would lose the protection. That is, think about that as well. Another proposal here. We have people from Moscow government represented, and Moscow is doing a lot to really support our patent claims. And indeed, this is the money that will be going back and will be coming back. And but every time when you pay a patent duty abroad, you pay money to the patent attorney abroad, this is a lot of money to be paid in FX plus VAT. And you pay VAT once and again, but maybe we can lift this VAT. This is an indirect tax that should be applied here. I think that because it is really hurting rather than helping, and it may stop businessmen to really go after the patents abroad. And here we have this opportunity to really provide some support to the entrepreneurs who are seeking the patents abroad. And one more thing, the interaction between big companies and SMEs in the domain of IP protection and the use of IP rates that are generated by the small businesses is something to think about. Because of the severance of links, we face this challenge. Take the Sukhoi company, which is quite actively using the developments from SMEs. And we need to be thinking not about really supporting directly the SMEs, but about incentivizing those big companies that can offer some interaction and cooperation to SMEs as part of their full production cycle. As Yuri showed the full cycle under the public programs, and we how to bring an idea to implementation. And the same cycle can be enjoyed by the big companies so that they can co-finance the R&D and support the implementation. They can also support the proper standards to be used, and we would thus be able to have some good results. I may continue on and on about the proposals that we offered yesterday, and those are reflected in the resolution of the forum. We then send it to all the authorities for consideration and review. Then we are working usually with Rospatent on those ideas, and we're thankful to Rospatent for the innovations that are supported by Yuri and Grigori. My idea is yes, indeed. Your subject matter of this conference is very important, the digital transformation of IP. However, most of the businesses do not really appreciate the value of IP for them as an asset. And of course, we need to be quite specific about IPs so that this market can be also about incorporating the pledges. People are very well trained in digital technologies. Our country has made a huge breakthrough in digital services, in banking, in document flows, etc. So people are have mastered the digital services, and perhaps we need also to be thinking about the implementation of IP rights and protecting them. Thank you, Vadim. In conclusion, of course, I would like to thank the participants of this discussion. And as we can see, the IP ecosystem and its digital transformation are inevitable, and importantly, we discussed not only our achievements, but also some disadvantages, and we identify the growth points. All of that was deliberated by the panelists, and this is the right way, which may lead us to a successful transformation of the IP market. I would like to thank the panel here and the audience as well. Yes, I can see Yuri would like to say something. It is not like summing up, but maybe it's leading into our next session. Indeed, we discussed both the problems and the advantages and the achievements, and there are many tasks ahead of us, and those are the tasks that we decided to introduce not in March or just the other day, but really we worked on them last year and in the previous years. And in light of this interdepartmental support and interaction, we can also reach out to the IP market and to incentivize the patent activity there so that the inventors would be interested in protecting their inventions so that they can see the light in the end of the tunnel in the form of dividends and royalty, and not only just, printed documents or electronic documents for that matter. I would like to say that anything that we discussed here today would be really scrutinized by the experts in IP later on, and the mechanisms that we introduced in the beginning, for example, the early warning mechanism and the expert mechanism, all of that would be really looked into separately and later on. Now, going deeper into the question, Oleg Yana will be sharing with you some information about the mechanism of comprehensive expert examination and accompaniment of major public projects. But again, in conclusion, I would like to congratulate you with the IP Week. And I understand why it is a week, because really we would usually have so many questions to have accumulated over the year that it takes a week to look into them. And of course, the result of this conference would be all put into the minutes and spread. And of course, I would congratulate all of you with the professional holiday. Dear participants and the audience and panelists, please stay here for the signing ceremony on cooperation here in this room. Ladies and gentlemen, we welcome you at the signing ceremony of the cooperation agreement between the Federal Institute of Industrial Property and the R&D Center of Expert Examination of the Medical Instruments of the Ministry of the Russian Federation. For the signing ceremony, we invite here the director of the Federal Institute of Industrial Property, Oleg Neretin, and the CEO of the R&D Center for the Expert Examination of the Means of Medical Use, Ms. Kosygina. The cooperation agreement is being signed between the Federal Institute of Industrial Property and the R&D Center for the Expert Examination of the Medical Means in order to establish cooperation linkages to promote the IP development. Dear signatories, please exchange your folders. Valentina Kosenko will have the opportunity to say a few welcoming words. Fortunately, this is not being into the microphone. Our R&D Center of the Ministry of Healthcare of Russia is the only expert community in Russia which is conducting the expert examination of the safe use of medical and medical means and medicines in Russia. In order to develop the national project, which is called Medicine for People, we created the R&D Center. The main purpose of this center is to provide a comprehensive expert examination and support of innovations in healthcare, from the idea to the commercial use. Currently, the center is developing an algorithm of such comprehensive accompaniment and expert examination of R&D projects, also in terms of IP. Of particular relevance of the transfer of technologies is today because of the circumstances, but it is also helping to support the development of technologies. And the process of technology transfer is accompanied also by the transfer of the IP rights that are part of the technology. So it would be difficult to over-evaluate the value of this cooperation between the Federal Institute of Industrial Property, which is the leading expert community in this area, so we are hoping for a mutually beneficial cooperation. Oleg Neretin, your words, please. Valentina and dear colleagues, of course, I would like to support the words that we have been witnessing a very important event of signing the agreement between our two institutions. In the Federal Institute of Industrial Property, we have three centers that would be immediately involved in the projects and work that we see as the subject matter of our cooperation. And this is patent analytics, and we have the Center for the Advanced Technologies and the project office that is doing the project analytics. We also have the Center for Advanced Technologies and Accelerated Technologies that would be able to offer some expert examination and assessment of the patentability of the developments that are being offered by over 100 entities that are part of your institution. And the third is the educational track that we discussed today during the plenary session, that we don't have enough skilled personnel and cadre, and there we also can employ our educational center with its 25 training programs, and this way we can probably cover the needs for your training. I have some secret thought of probably of finding some more experts in your institution and offering them a job, jokingly. But the very idea of signing this agreement is the natural extension of our earlier cooperation and interaction that we have seen among the officials of our institutions, and in the light of the most recent circumstances, such cooperation is becoming more and more relevant. So I wish the mutually beneficial cooperation for the benefit of our institutions and our country. Congratulations with signing of the agreement. The signing ceremony is over, so we adjourn here and call a break.